Let's talk about the 10 commandments of prospecting. So, this is a little something that I put together to help break down statuses after a call. And this is very, very important that you understand this and you see the big picture as well as you see what role you play in when you make those initial phone calls. So, let's get into it. The 10 commandments of prospecting qualify them as a lead if they are interested in selling and will sell within 6 months. So, overall, we're looking for individuals who own real estate. They raise their hand and they say, yes, I would actually sell in the next 6 months. And there's different temperatures to those individuals. But as far as prospecting, we're just looking for people to raise their hand. That way we can continue to have a conversation with them to figure out what their actual temperature is, which goes into a lead management. And we're not going to talk about that today. All right, interested lead wants to sell within 6 months. And we don't want you to think of that as it's okay to follow up with me in 6 months to see if I want to sell. That is totally different than, yeah, I would sell in the next, 6 months. And then you ask the appropriate questions, which you should have already went through in this training. After the prospect is qualified, get on the phone with them ASAP. Now, this is done just by you pushing over to the CRM and getting the lead manager to follow up, or maybe that's you and you're going to continue the process to keep them on the phone and to qualify and disqualify this prospect. Make them commit to a phone call or appointment. This is simple. Normally, we would like to give two separate options. Me personally, I like to say give them a time frame, and it sounds something like, "Hey, listen, I know one of my team members will probably reach out to you tomorrow. Normally, they're really good about getting back to you within the next day or so. Is morning or evening time better for them to reach out to you?" And this is really vague, and it's done like that on purpose because you might hear people say, well, you need to give them two time slots. I don't really like the time slot because, again, this is a prospect that we're turning into a lead. And unless there's dire motivation and like they're actually just wanting to sell now because there's a huge pain point, and if that's the case, then yes, absolutely get them whatever the time they need and let's make that happen. But in most cases, though, if it was a dire need and you just called them for the first time, you don't have enough rapport for them to even know that you can perform. So you have to earn that right. And this is, again, my perspective. So I prefer to say, hey, is it better for me to call you in the morning or in the evening? And now we have a window. And then I'll just tell them, hey, normally we get back to you, in the morning around 10, 11, whatever that looks like for you and your team. Be urgent and create urgency. This is so important, right? Let them know that there's other opportunities that we're always looking for and looking at. There's current opportunities on the table, and they're not our only opportunity, even if they are your only opportunity. You want to create urgency and scarcity. Reply to a seller's text within 10 minutes or less. That's very important. If you are sending out text, you need to follow up with them almost immediately. And maybe you have some automation set up like inside of TLC CRM where we do have like a delay. And normally that delay is, a couple of seconds so it doesn't look like it's automated. And then they receive another text to keep the conversation rolling. But if you're doing this on your own, you absolutely want to respond to their text immediately. So if they text back late at night and you see it, you should really respond. Do not ask about price over text or go into details over the phone. This is referring to higher authority. So, for one, price over text, yeah, you can definitely talk about the price over text. You can definitely get some of that information out of them, but you really don't want to negotiate and do like a price anchor or anything like that over text. I would definitely try to get them on the phone And if you're not able to get them on the phone, then absolutely use your sole means of communication, which is text. And then, as far as going in the details over the phone, what that is referring to is you really want to set yourself up to have a higher authority, even if you are the decision maker. Now, as a prospector, you are not the decision maker. You have an evaluation specialist, you have a partner, you have a team member, you have your boss. However, you want to frame that, you have somebody else that makes all your decisions. Maybe you're a one man show, but your wife makes all your decisions. It's okay to tell them that. Hey, I got to run this by the old lady, right? However, you want to frame that, let them know. Because having a higher authority is very, very important in a negotiation. Do not sound, actually, sorry, do not make offers over text or phone. Again, this is going back to the higher authority. So, what you would ideally want to do is get them on the phones as quickly as possible. And if you are submitting an offer, you would want to put that in writing. And you can definitely do a price anchor, which we'll go over that in future trainings. But as you build that price anchor, what you're doing is you're setting the stage for them and you're not being so hungry. If you're making an offer really quick and you make it feel easy to them, they're going to feel like they missed out on something. So even if they give you a price that you know works, do not get excited. That's the last thing you want to do. If you know the property's worth 100,000 and they offer to sell it to you for 40, and if you go, "Oh yeah, absolutely. Here, I'll write it up right now." Right? Your immediate response and reaction is going to make them feel like they're losing out and missing out on money. They don't want you to make money. Like, let's be honest, right? They're not after your needs, they're after theirs. So if they feel like they left money on the table, that's going to cause buyers or sellers remorse in the future, and you're going to have problems during your transaction phase of the process. So overall, you definitely want to let their offers kind of sit a little bit. And if they do make you a good offer and you're just like, "Ooh, really? Okay, 40,000. Um, give me just a second. Let me run this by my partner and see if we can do that. We wasn't really expecting that. Hang on one second. All right, and get permission for you to put them on hold, but literally put them on hold. Like if you're on your phone, hit mute and lay your phone down, right, and just wait, because that wait that makes them create fear, and in their mind they're turning out all of these different scenarios that is going to be in your benefit. So definitely create that time and let them sit in silence, even if you don't have anybody else to refer to. Now, if you're prospecting, obviously you're not making offers. But if you do end up getting to the point where you are making offers, that's how we handle that. Do not sound like a robot. Make sure they know you are a real person. This is done with the ums and ahs, the stuttering, falling over your words. Don't sound scripted. I'm pretty good at my words and I'm pretty good at reading my script and knowing what to say when to say it. Obviously, I can always improve, but for the most part, I don't want it to sound scripted like I'm just reading a paragraph, even if I am. So even if I got something in front of me that I'm reading, just like now, I'm trying to make it feel like I'm actually talking to you. That way you can engage and you know that I'm a real human being and I'm not this robot, right? I hope that makes sense to you, and I hope in this training I actually make you feel that way. Use emojis when texting, but not too many. All right, so I actually had an experience with this where I had a virtual assistant, and she loved the heart emojis. All right, and she would text buyers and sellers, and she would drop the hearts emojis, and it turned into flirting. Okay, let's be honest. There is lines that you can cross, and it's really up to you if you want to draw those lines in the beginning or just kind of fly by the seat of your pants and let it work to see what happens. But for the most part, though, we want to use emojis and we want to keep it professional. The emojis every once in a while helps them feel like you are a real person and you're actually responding. And I like to use the little prayer or thanks emoji, smiley face. Something simple, peace sign, right? And yeah, those I don't I have not had any issues with those, right? Because they're friendly. They give a certain feeling to the message versus having hearts and the little kisses with hearts, right? You don't want right? No, like you're kind of crossing the line and definitely not being professional. Even if you are, a girl yourself. Um, Wait 30 minutes to 1 hour before sending out each batch. Depends on response rate. So again, this goes back to texting. And normally with texting, what we want to do is we want to send texting out in batches because if you send 1,000 text messages out all at the same time, most likely those responses are going to come back in at the same time. And now you're going to be covered up and you're going to be dropping the ball on a lot of these leads and opportunities. So if you are texting, you want to really create a funnel. And if you send out a batch of text, I would probably keep it about 100. You can even do 50 for the first batch and get the feel for it, and then kind of step it up. I would probably not send out more than 100 at a time without just waiting for a couple of responses. Normally, if you wait 15 to 20 minutes, you're going to kind of see like if you're getting responses or not. And don't be surprised if you sent out 50 or 100 and you get no responses and you waited 15 to 30 minutes and you still didn't get a response, and then all of a sudden you send out another batch, but then towards the end of the day or during lunch all of a sudden you get blowed up. Don't be surprised if that happens, because a lot of people, they're not able to use their phones during their work time. So they may respond back when they can, and that's normally during lunch hours or after work. So for the most part, texting, you definitely have to play with it and figure out what the best practice is for that certain list. Because if you're targeting people who have a 9 to 5 and they're going to work and they're not elderly and they're not retired or sitting around doing nothing, then those time periods are going to be really important. And as far as sending out batches, a lot of this stuff, especially if you're using the TLC CRM, is able to be automatically responded to. So you are able to make them feel like they are important and you are, talking to them. And what we do is, as you send out SMS, depending on their response, we have it set up in the system where it would actually respond to people a certain way. And then once they respond back with something positive, like, yes, I absolutely want to sell, like, I need, $100,000 for the property, then there would not be an automatic response to that. And that'd be sitting on your table versus them, responding back saying, no, go F off, right? Our system prevents you from ever really seeing those. So it's much easier and much efficient. All right. Interested lead. Seems interested, said yes, or what's your offer, or asking price giving. Wants to sell within 6 months. May have a problem. So interested lead, this is the way we do this in prospecting. We don't do like hot, warm, cold, all those things. If they raise their hand, this is prospecting. We just generated a lead. Now, yes, absolutely. What we want to do if they go, well, what's your offer? Well, for the right price, anything's for sale, right? We definitely want to disqualify them, which you got training on. So don't misinterpret my words when I say, if they say, yes, I will sell, what's your offer? And then you're like, oh, well, you're a lead. Let me send you up, right? No, you need to go through the disqualification. What have they done so far in order to sell? Why are they looking to sell? Are they just looking to sell and interested to sell because you called them? We need to figure out these questions, right? Why don't they list the property if they are interested in selling? What did their agents say? Why don't they rent the property? Why don't they just keep the property? What's wrong with that? We need to go through these steps because they're very, very important to qualify the lead or disqualify. And then we have correct person. So this is something that we definitely, definitely highly prefer for us to keep into the operation and to be very, very concerned about who you put on this list. So correct person is essentially not interested. But what we did was we don't want just not interested to anything happen, and we don't want it to be confusing. So if you're able to get in touch with somebody and they're like, yes, my name is Eric. Yes, that is my property. But no, I don't want to sell. Like, please just stop calling me. Okay. Well, what we would do is you don't have to think about it so much. That's the correct person. They just told you, yes, this is me. You have the correct number to reach me anytime you want to. So we just want to put that in the system correctly. And that is using correct person. And again, that's somebody that is not interested. It doesn't matter what they say. But one thing is verified, and they are the owner of that property. If you're unsure if they're the owner of that property, or you're not able to actually get those questions out, then human connected, right? This is somebody the owner is not verified, and you're unsure if they are even interested in selling. So human connected again is, why are you calling? I get these calls all the time. You know what? Just stop calling me. Well, sir, like I just want to verify. Did I reach Sam? Click, right? And you didn't have the chance to actually ask if that's the correct person. So we don't really know. So just put it on human connected. That way we know that this number reaches a human, and we can contact them in a different format or by on another day, because they might respond differently if you call them on another time. And this is so true too. So hear this. If you call one person, they respond negatively. Another person or you can call them at a different time later, and they will respond completely different to the exact same message. It's crazy. All right. Gets you paid now, right? Interested lead. Boom. We triggered a lead. We're ready to move, right? Gets you paid in the future. The correct person. Owner verified and unsure if they are not or interested in selling, um, or they're selling after 6 months, right? And they're correct person. There's human connected again. Owner not verified. Unsure if they are interested. If somebody hangs up on you, and you're not able to figure out if they are a human or not, this happens. Like, it might just be dial tone, then they just like click. So that's just hung up. Now, if you did reach a human and you're unsure, then they hang up on you, just put it as human connected, because again, you did reach a human. So you kind of see how these statuses, like, they're stacked, right? We have the highest qualified status, which is interested lead. That's the correct person, and they are somewhat interested in selling. And then we have correct person. They're not interested in selling, but we do know that they are the homeowner. And we have human connected, which means we reached a human, but we wasn't able to qualify or disqualify in any way. And then there's the next calls where something happens, you say hello, and you don't really hear anything, or it sounds weird, suspicious, whatever, and they just hung up. So you just mark it as hung up. You got DNC wrong number. So the person actually states, no, you reached the wrong number, and I do not own that property. And you reverse them and ask them the appropriate questions. Then you can mark them as wrong number. If you're unsure if it is the wrong number, put it as human connected. So if you think they're lying to you, or if you think they're playing with you or something like that, just put it as human connected. But if they actually state, hey, this is the wrong number, it's DNC wrong number. DNC disconnected. So a lot of times, again, we're dialing 10, 20 numbers per contact, right? So if we have one person who's a homeowner of one property, we may pull 10 to 20 phone numbers for that one person, and we're unsure of the correct one. Because of that, we get a lot of disconnected numbers, and disconnected numbers is very important for you to understand what they sound like and what you're actually looking for. So you're going to get fax machines. Fax machines aren't an actual phone line where you can talk two-way communication to people. Instead, it's a way where you can fax, or like the old format of a email, right? So like, you got a printer and it's connected up to a phone line, and you put a piece of paper in there, you hit send, and it literally scans the paper, and then on the other end, or the phone number that you're dialing to, that printer scans and receives that message, and it prints out the same document, right? That's a fax machine. Now, a lot of times those numbers, they sound funny. It's like or right, just over and over. It's just like this annoying noise. I promise you, the first time you hear it, that was probably a very bad example, but the first time you hear it, it's going to make sense to you. Just know that that's a fax machine. Businesses, you're going to get in touch with a lot of businesses. You may get in touch with the police department, the fire department, um, doctors' offices, all these things, right? Sometimes, though, when you do get in touch with businesses, it is the correct number because we're able to reach that individual at that business. You just have to learn how to ask those correct questions. Now, with a lot of businesses, though, it's just because they disconnected their number and that number was reassigned to another company or another person. No longer in service and dead tone. All right, so no longer in service is silence. All right, and this will kind of throw you off, especially when you're on the dialer. You're gonna, you'll see the dialer respond, and it'll pull the property up, and it's just gonna be silence. And you're like, hello, hello, and you're gonna be thinking to yourself, somebody messing with me. But then you wait 20, 30 seconds, and nobody responds, and nobody hangs up. It's no longer in service. So you just put that phone number on DNC disconnected and move on. The dead tone, I'm sure you know what a dead tone sounds like. I can't really replicate it, but there are, tones where it's just like, duh, or this number has been disconnected, right? Like they actually tell you. So keep that in mind as well. And all of those things go into DNC disconnected. Renters of subject property. So a lot of times we don't get the homeowner, but we actually get the renter that lives at that property. And if they state that they are the renter, then we want to ask if they can contact us with the homeowner because it's very important that you talk with them. And if they say no and they don't want to help you out, that's fine. Just put them as renters of subject property. And we got that status in there because now we know that we can get in touch with somebody that knows or understands about the property. And we can get in touch with the homeowner through them. It just depends what that looks like, right? So you put that on there and we can go to deeper prospecting in the future with those contacts. Add to agent or buyer. Not interested in selling and stated they are an agent or buyer looking to buy. So this is a big one, right? A lot of times you're going to get in touch with real estate agents or brokers or other investors, and they're like, no, I'm not interested in selling. I don't want to sell. Like, I do this business too. Like, I'm in the same business that your boss is. I'm in the same business you're in, right? Why waste that lead? Why waste that opportunity? So start asking them a little bit about their agencies, right? What do they do? What do they specialize in? Buyer. Oh, awesome. Hey, I completely understand you're not interested in selling. It sounds like you might be interested in buying, though. Help me understand. What can we bring to you? What does that look like? What is your buying criteria? What is your buy box? What locations are you buying in? What price range? What type of property are you buying? Are you a landlord? Are you a flipper? Are you a wholesaler? So there's a lot of different questions there, and you'll get more training on that in the agent and buyer training in the future. But overall, though, if they're not interested in selling and you did reach the correct person, we're not going to put these people on correct person. Instead, we're going to put them to add to agent or buyer, especially if there's no pain or motivation there. And we'll follow up with them as an agent or buyer, and it's easier to build rapport because now if there is something going on with them and they need help, they're more able to talk about it because they're not so embarrassed about talking about their agent status or buyer's status, right? So that's the way we pivot on that. DNC, the state to remove me, add me to DNC, I'll sue you. Sounds like a litigator, is very rude or hateful, may be suspicious by asking company details. Again, in your litigator training, this is huge, right? If it sounds like a litigator, somebody who's just looking to sue somebody, just put them on DNC. Like, we literally never want to talk to them again. All right. And it's not DNC disconnected, it's actual DNC. All right. Rules of engagement, always be friendly. All right. This is the most important thing, honestly. Like, we get tired on the phone, especially when we sit there for a while and we're getting answer machine after answer machine after answer machine. Like, sometimes it might rub our nerves the wrong way. Always be friendly, always be inviting, always smile when you talk, right? Put a funny picture up in front of you, put a mirror up in front of you where you can see yourself smile. Never share company information. If asked, hey, that's a great question. I just work for a local guy who's looking um, for a house in the area. Is working with a large company important to you? Right? And just go ahead and let them know, like, hey, we're not a large company. Like, is that important to you? And you just reverse that. Always get a yes or no, never a maybe. So if they say, well, I might be interested in selling, ask the question, right? That should confuse you. And it's simply, oh, well, why would you might be interested in selling? And see what how they respond. They're going to drop little nuggets, and you can kind of figure out if they're one of these dreamers, and they're like, oh, well, for the right price, anything's for sale. It's always a yes or no. And yeah, absolutely, you're going to definitely get some maybes, and you're going to have to hone your skills, or people are going to cut you short, and you're not able to qualify those people, and you have to do the follow ups. A friend today is a motivated seller tomorrow. Build relationships. That's the most important thing I want you to take away from all of this. I went through the process. This is the 10 commandments of prospecting. We went through calling on the dialer and also in the SMS world. This may or may not be in your SMS training, but overall, this is how you respond and how you treat prospects. And by sorting them in appropriate statuses, that helps us in the future because this is data, and data is very, very important. Now let's look at that in the batch dialer. So on the batch dialer, we have several different statuses. You can kind of see what they look like. Interested lead right here, red. Here's correct person. The next one would be human connected. And oh, I actually do not know why not interested is on there, but that should be removed. We got disconnected number, no answer, do not call, unknown, successful sell, call back. Yeah, so for the most part, add to agent, add to buyer. Uh, this is what your statuses look like. It's that simple, right? So for the most part, it's interested lead, correct person, human connected. Those are really the only ones that you should be clicking on all the time. You got add to agent, add to buyer if you need it, and then obviously disconnected number if you need that as well. And here's DNC wrong number. I left that one out. All right, awesome.